Bonsoir et bienvenue à tous. On a déjà été presque habitué au scandale dans les concours d'entrée à l'École nationale de l'administration de la magistrature, l'ENAM. Des candidats admis par erreur, cas de Ifo-Ignace au concours 2023-2024 au cycle A des douanes. Des candidats qui se sont retrouvés à la fois sur la liste des admis et sur la liste d'attente lors de la session 2019-2020. Ou encore des candidats décédés avant les épreuves orales mais déclarés admis, cas de 1005 Claude Ndjomo perd son âme à la session de 2017. Et la liste n'est pas exhaustive. Mais scandale à l'examen d'aptitude au stage d'avocat où un candidat n'ayant pas passé les épreuves écrites est déclaré admissible, eh bien les archives ne donnent aucune information, aucun cas semblable. Pourtant, des candidats viennent de saisir le ministre de la Justice, garde des Sceaux et le tribunal administratif du centre pour contester les résultats de l'examen publié le 28 mai dernier, des résultats des admissibilités de l'examen d'aptitude au stage d'avocat de la session 2024. Ils dénoncent le non-respect des textes. Ils citent notamment les dispositions de l'article 7 du décret numéro 91/035 du 4 juillet 1991 portant organisation de l'examen d'aptitude au stage d'avocat au Cameroun. Mais surtout, ils évoquent le cas d'un candidat qui n'a pas passé les épreuves écrites, mais dont le nom figure sur la liste des candidats admissibles et donc éligibles aux épreuves orales. Mais comment en est-on arrivé à cette situation ? Cette affaire ne remet-elle pas en question la fiabilité du processus de sélection des futurs avocats? Quel est d'ailleurs ce processus? Comment est organisé cet examen? Quelle est la part du barreau du Cameroun et quelle est l'étendue de la compétence du ministère de la Justice dans l'organisation de cet examen? Qui va assumer ces manquements, ces erreurs, pour ne pas parler de scandale? Quelles sont les voies de recours dont disposent les candidats recalés pour obtenir gain de cause? Cet examen peut-il être annulé? Et au sujet des admissibilités, combien pourraient définitivement être reçus sur les 2145 candidats encore en course? Et quand sera organisé l'examen pour passer au grand tableau au regard des longues années qui séparent souvent les différentes sessions? Pour répondre à ces préoccupations, personne de mieux placé que le bâtonnier himself. Élu bâtonnier de l'Ordre des avocats du Cameroun le 20 juin 2022, il achève bientôt son premier mandat à la tête du barreau, un barreau qu'il connaît très bien. Inscrit au petit tableau en 2001, il accède au grand tableau en 2003 et depuis 2018, il siège au Conseil de l'Ordre. Le 13e bâtonnier de l'Ordre des avocats du Cameroun est l'invité de la vérité en face chez Équinoxe télévision. Après avoir été sous les feux des projecteurs en mars dernier au moment de l'inscription des candidats à l'examen, avec notamment ce que certains de ses collègues avaient appelé les conditions discriminatoires de participation à l'examen d'entrée au barreau, le revoici à nouveau au devant de la scène avec cette affaire de tripatouillage des listes des admissibles selon des candidats recalés. Bâtonnier Mba, Eric Mba, bonsoir et bienvenue à cette émission de La Vérité en face.
Thank you, Mr. Duval. It's my pleasure.
Pour mener à bien cet entretien, nous sommes avec BABILA Jonathan. Good evening.
Bonsoir Duval. Thank you, dear viewers, for joining us on this edition of La Vérité en face. Today, we are looking at the 2024 Cameroon Bar Entrance Examination, the organization of the examination, the marking and the compilation of results, the publication of the results, the quality of the results, and of course, allegations of fraud highlighted here and there by some candidates who did not succeed in that examination. We are also looking at administrative interference in the judicial system of the country, an interference that is playing down on the independence and credibility of the judiciary, with the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seas, Laurent Esso, decrying intimidation of justice, judges, and of course influence peddling. We are also taking you into what opposition politicians in Cameroon qualify as violation of national and international laws protecting civil and political rights in the country. Plus, the deadlock in the Martinez-Zogo capital murder affair resulting from the refusal of the Yaoundé military court to give a copy of the case file to the lawyers handling the case. And the court simply says that the lawyers are only allowed to consult the case file in court. We are looking at all these issues in this edition of La Vérité en face. And our guest today is Barrister Mba, Eric Mba, is the president of the Cameroon Bar Association. Mr. President, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. It's an honor for me to be here.
Monsieur le bâtonnier, vous venez d'achever les épreuves orales de l'examen d'aptitude au stage d'avocat pour la session 2024. Alors, je voudrais vous prier de rester dans votre posture d'examinateur et nous dire quelle est la note que vous attribuez à l'organisation de cet examen. 20 sur 20, 15 sur 20, 10 sur 20, ou peut-être même la sous-moyenne.
I will think that it's been a perfect job. It's been a great job. I wouldn't want to quantify it in terms of 15, 16 or whatsoever, but I think we put in our maximum and it's been a great success, given the challenges that we've been able to overcome.
Quand vous dites parfait, ça veut dire 20 sur 20.
Perfect in the sense that the hurdles that
Dans
were
le
there,
barème, lorsqu'on dit parfait, c'est 20 sur 20.
that's why I hastily said I would not want to qualify it in terms of marks, and I said we in view of the hurdles that we had to overcome, I think we did a good job.
Mais de votre point de vue, vous avez perdu les points dans quelle rubrique, par exemple?
In our point, I think the basic area where I would not want to say we lost points, but I want to say the area where we need some immediate and major redress is the area of writing the exams.
Alors, revenons un tout petit peu sur le process pour évaluer dans les différentes rubriques. Je voudrais qu'on commence par la première phase, notamment les épreuves écrites. Mais avant les épreuves écrites, il y a bien sûr les inscriptions des candidats, puis le déroulement des épreuves écrites. Comment ça se passe? Comment ça s'organise? Qui fait quoi?
Qui fait quoi? I am happy with the question because it permits us to understand the bar. They say it is the bar exams. The prima facie impression that everybody has is the bar has a 100% rule in the control. Actually, we are in a permanent struggle to see that the bar has a predominant say in who becomes a lawyer in Cameroon. The law provides that the exams are organized by two structures, the secretariat and the jury. The secretariat is made up of two lawyers, and it is headed by the director of judicial professions, who is a magistrate. When the documents are received at the bar, the list is constituted, it is forwarded to the ministry. Anybody who thought that he submitted his file for one reason or the other, the bar did not include his name, has a right at that level to petition. The jury already put in place and the secretariat examined the petitions, which is what happened. If we think that the candidate's name ought to be on the list is amended. With a report, it is forwarded to the minister, who publishes the final list. The list is published by the minister. The jury is made up of 7 members. It is presided by the lawyer. It is presided by the bar president, who I happen to be. We have 2 university lecturers. We have 2 senior magistrates, and we have 2 lawyers. That is the composition of the jury. And these are the 2 organs that take charge of the exams. All the secretarial work, the logistic printing of the writing material, looking for the hall, looking for where the exams have to take place. The choice of the date is some consent negotiation, is an arrangement between the secretariat and the jury. But as to where the exams is written, what time and all of that, that is...
Alors, avant les épreuves écrites, sur les inscriptions par exemple, lorsque vous expliquez, on comprend très bien que lorsque vous recevez le dossier et lorsque vous publiez des listes provisoires, il y a une possibilité pour des candidats dont les dossiers, dont le nom ne figure pas et dont le dossier a peut-être été recalé, de faire une requête avec la possibilité justement que son nom apparaisse sur les listes définitives des candidats. Exactement. Alors, et maintenant, après cela, il y a l'organisation matérielle même du concours, de l'examen d'entrée au barreau. On a bien observé que les examens se sont déroulés à l'INAM. Alors, sur les déroulements, on a observé un certain nombre de difficultés, notamment le cas des épreuves qui arrivaient tard dans la nuit. Il y a des candidats qui sont plaints de ce que Jusqu'à 22h, 23h, ils attendaient encore certaines épreuves. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé pour qu'on arrive à cette situation-là?
Yes, what I want to say, Mr. Duval, is that you can't seek to have your egg and have the omelette. The major thing that the Bar Council focused on was to see how we can mitigate corruption in these exams. We had 5,300 candidates. So to organize the exams for 5,300 candidates is not at all easy. The 5,000 candidates arrive in the morning. We have to verify their identity cards to be sure that they are actually the ones whose names are on the list. The exams were written in 3 centers. There was ENAM, there was Lycée de Clerc, and there was the University of Yaoundé 1 campus. None of these campuses was negotiated by the bar. It is the ministry through the secretariat headed by the Director of Judicial Profession who did all of that negotiation. The bar only comes in through the jury to set the exams and see the exams goes on. So what happened is we got in the morning, we have to verify to be sure. Because if you equally hurry up and you don't do the verification, some people who are not qualified will pass through. And the next thing,
false identity.
Yes, with false identity. And the next issue will be, nobody will say it was negligence, nobody will say that there was pressure, but it will be that bribe had been taken. So that is part of what accounted for the fact that we had to start late. The second issue is that I, as the president of the jury, when they direct, so that on the morning they select the questions and give, I refused. Because there was the probable fear of leakage in the question. So what we decided was that the jury was going to meet on the morning of the exams. When the candidates are already seated in the hall, the jury will set the questions and run them. That was the only way for us to be very sure that the questions are not leaked or the candidates don't know the question before time. It's unfortunate that because of that, it caused the exams to delay.
I was going to ask you if that option was a good one, because it seems to have triggered some unnecessary circumstances that rendered the writing conditions tedious.
No, it is not actually the issue of the questions or that option that made the conditions tedious. What actually made the conditions tedious was the fact that they wrote the 2 papers on the same day, which the bar does not see why it is done like that. The law provides that the exams is written on the same day, one day. But when you are interpreting the law, you need to give a human face to it. There's no explanation why we wrote the exams on Saturday. We had to compress the candidates to write up to 3, 4 a.m., whereas they could have come back on Sunday and write the exams on Sunday.
Oui, mais on entend une petite voix dire, droit lex, c'est lex.
Yes, yes. And again, I'm sure that same petit voix, you must have heard that same petit voix said that summum jus, summum injuria. Meaning, too much insistence on the law is injustice. Because law is intended to serve humanity. And where the law instead inflicts pain on humanity, then that law doesn't serve its purpose.
Mais est-ce que vous avez le sentiment, en faisant le bilan aujourd'hui, que tout au moins pour cet aspect concernant la fuite des épreuves, la question était totalement réglée?
I would say yes. I would say yes.
C'est une satisfaction donc?
Yes, I would say yes. Because the candidates were in the hall, we had to set. And another issue is, which you must understand, Duval, is that we are a bilingual country. The exams were for candidates from the English and the French extraction. So every question that was set, because the first thing is that the jury had to agree on the common areas to choose. So we decided to choose areas where the laws are harmonized, so that they can be the same questions. Because if you go to areas where the common law has something else and the civil law has something else, tomorrow you will still have the accusation, the questions for the Anglophones were cheaper or the questions for the Francophones were cheaper. So to be on the safe side, we had to look for a common ground to set the questions on the common ground. And when the questions were set, either it's in English or in French, it is translated into the other language. And we had to photocopy the questions for 5,300. And the law says, the law gives us areas where we are supposed to set. If you take an area like commentaire d'arrêt, if a jury stumbles on a judgment, sur un arrêt qui est peut-être, disons, 15 pages, supposons même pas 15, disons 10 pages, et vous allez multiplier 10 pages fois 5300 candidats. It takes a lot of time. To us, it was more important that the exams has the credibility than the issue of the time. One other issue, when we did all of that, it was okay. They wrote, they finished on time. About when we were supposed to start the second paper, it was getting late. And one thing I must say, Duval, is that peut-être c'est tout à fait normal et c'est la nature de nos examens au barreau. Parce que si vous demandez, même à notre époque, ça a toujours été comme ça. 2014, c'était comme ça. Ce n'est pas parce que c'était comme ça que j'essaie de justifier, non. But I want to tell you that that is the way it has always been. It is not correct and we need to improve it. The candidates do not need to write under some conditions as though they are being punished, or the conditions under which they are writing is intended to make them fail. We could get the candidate write one paper one day, come the next day write another one, so that they are at ease with themselves. Just at the time when we're going to start the second paper, knowing that it will get into the night, we said, let us verify the lighting system. We discovered that at Lycée-Leclerc, there were some halls that did not have bulbs. The lighting was very poor. So candidates had actually grouped their benches to come together so that they can have light. We had to look for an electrician to go get bulbs to electrify some of those halls. We could not equally, in the circumstances, get the candidates on Yaoundé campus to start writing with the ones of ENAM when
il fallait harmoniser l'heure de départ et de début des épreuves.
Yes. So we had to make sure that everything is harmonized.
Do you think some of these challenges affected the result, the outcome of the examination?
If I tell you no, then I'm not honest. If I tell you no, then I'm not honest. Of course it was.
So some might have failed not because they didn't know, they were not intelligent enough, but simply because of this condition.
Generally, it is said examinations are not really the true test of knowledge. It happens.
Now, tell us about the marking phase. The Bar Association runs the grand jury which is in charge of setting the questions and marking. Yes. Now, we have talked about the questions and the written phase, the marking phase.
Yes, the marking phase, what happens is that the secretariat, when the scripts are written, what we did was there was a team at every center. When they wrote, the team was escorted by the police. After the scripts were collected, they were escorted to ENAM because ENAM was the center. When the scripts were received at ENAM, they were put in the trunk. They were put in the trunk. The trunk has two locks. The secretariat has a key to one and the jury has a key to one. The next day, they come now, they do the coding. They do the coding. Within the period that the secretariat is doing the coding, the jury now sets to work to do to give the answer guide. We now take the question, examine them, come out with the answer guide, the marking guide. That's what the jury does. It gives room now for the markers to come up for marking. One thing I equally want to say, Duval, c'est que beaucoup de gens, peut-être, ils ont décidé de ne pas dire. Quand on dit, oh, c'était pénible et tout ça, on oublie que c'était deux examens. C'était l'examen d'entrée en stage et l'examen de sortie.
Et pour ceux qui étaient au petit tableau?
Oui, oui, pour ceux qui étaient au petit tableau. Ceux qui étaient recalés de l'examen depuis 2014. Oui, oui. So there were two exams. We had to set the exams for the bar one. We had to set the exams for the bar two. But many people either do not want to say it because they want to discredit the exams.
And you also had some candidates with the impairment.
Yes, that is another issue. We had two candidates who were visually impaired. The candidates who were visually impaired required particular attention. There was one of them who writes with the braille. There is the other one who wrote with the computer. He has a customized computer. So we had, after the exams were done, there was a technical team that was on site, that the questions were given to them. They had to adapt it for the candidate to write with the Braille. The other candidate will have to save it in a flash to put in his computer so that the computer could read the questions to him while he answers them. Those are all things we needed to handle.
Do you think that the measures that you put in place with the police accompanying those carrying the scripts, the scripts being kept in a secured area and so on, with the keys handed to
the jury and the secretariat.
The jury and the secretariat, do you think these measures actually prevented 100% some manipulation that some people are decrying today?
Honnêtement, Babila, je ne peux pas vous dire 100%. Mais on a essayé. Because no human endeavor is perfect. We only try to reduce what could be done, but we cannot eradicate it. Because the more with the young guys, with the youngsters of today, with technology, the more we are doing, they too are far advanced. But we can only try to do it within our own.
Parce que sur la question de Jonathan, lorsqu'on regarde un peu avec l'expérience, par exemple, des examens qui sont organisés dans l'enseignement secondaire, je prends le cas du probatoire ou encore du bac, ou bien d'ici, il y a par exemple ce qu'on appelle la question de la substitution des copies, que les gens essaient d'éviter au maximum, par exemple, en démarrant immédiatement l'anonymat des copies dès que les copies sont sorties des salles de classe, pour ne pas reporter au lendemain avec le risque justement que cela puisse survenir.
Yes, actually, you know, that is one of the issues that one of the candidates proposed. Not one of the candidates, one of the members of the jury, who is very versed with exams. He proposed that the anonymous be done immediately. But you believe with me, Duval, that because we started late with the issue of verification of ID cards and all of that, we could not stop at some point. If we had just one paper a day, we could have said, okay, at the end of the first paper, while the candidates are going home, we stay back and do the anonymous. And the anonymous is done under the supervision of the secretariat. The secretariat is in charge of photocopying and disbursing the examination material. So they could not be at the same time doing the anonymous, doing the coding, and at the same time preparing the material for the second paper.
Alors, venons-en à la question de la publication des résultats. Comment ça se passe? Qui fait quoi?
The exams, the results are published by the minister. The way it is done, when the marking is done under the supervision of the jury, once the scripts are marked, they are sent to the secretariat. If there's a problem, take for example, a candidate who writes with a green pen, that is an indicative. A candidate who makes a particular sign on his script, that is indicative. The secretariat cannot do anything. The examiner cannot decide what to do. He takes it to the jury. The jury will deliberate. Should that candidate be considered as a candidate who intended to cheat? Should that candidate be disqualified? Or should we allow it go through? So the jury decides on that. When they mark, they send the marks now to the secretariat. The secretariat compiles the marks. Once the secretariat compiles the marks and the coded scripts are uncoded, now the names are put in, the marks are brought to the jury. The jury has the latitude to call for scripts randomly. Okay. Say, okay, from number 1 to 50, bring us number 18. Bring us the script of number 18. Bring us the script of 35. So that we verify.
S'il n'y a pas de mix-up qui sont intervenus.
We say, okay, bring us the mark sheet of X2 markers, bring us the mark sheet of this. We verify to see if the marks that are on the mark sheet correspond with what we have before us. Once we are satisfied with that, we look at what the law says in terms of the average. Now, we do a report. if there are any incidents that happen during the exams, the jury does the report and all of that, and we declare the number of persons that we have seen from the results presented to us who have 10 and above.
Mais sur la question, justement, c'est la question que j'allais poser, la note requise pour passer les épreuves écrites pour être admissible, c'est combien selon cette loi-là?
C'est 10.
10 sur 20.
10 sur 20.
OK.
Yes. And that's why many people get the confusion.
Donc tous ceux qui ont 10 sur 20 sont admis.
Ils ont été déclarés
Donc il n'y a pas des admis sur délibération du jury?
Je n'ai pas constaté ça.
Right. So, in response to
those kind of instances usually happen because I participated in the jury for the bar 2. Yes, for the bar 2. It usually happens when you have very few candidates. Okay. When you have very few candidates, the jury can deliberate if you have 9, but the final result is on 12. Perhaps when the candidate has 11 or 11.5, the jury has the powers to deliberate and say, okay, let us round it up, and so. But that wasn't the case.
Were there some special considerations with regards to the fact that it's been 10 years that this examination has not been organized, whereas it's supposed to be organized according to the law every year? Were there some considerations with regards to this fact?
Je ne peux pas vous dire, M. Babila, qu'il n'y avait pas de considérations, mais tel que j'ai constaté, des considérations étaient juste, je dirais, plus personnelles. Mais pas quelque chose qu'on avait dit, bon, il faut faire tel considération.
Et parce que les correcteurs sont d'abord des humains et des parents qui voient quand même que depuis pratiquement 10 ans, il y a des candidats qui...
C'est exactement dans ce sens que j'ai parlé, parce que, tel que j'ai dit à notre tutelle, c'est parce qu'il y a certains qui ont estimé que d'avoir déclaré 2145
candidats,
oui,
sur 5300 candidats au départ,
c'est trop. Mais ce n'est pas Mbaïri qui a décidé.
Mais trop, ça ne représente même pas 50%.
Même si ça représentait même quoi, ce n'est pas Mbaïri, ce n'est pas le jury, c'est la loi. C'est la loi. Et en plus, j'ai dit aussi, parce que certains ont dit, soit des épreuves n'étaient pas assez dures, ou bien des correcteurs n'étaient pas assez stricts et tout ça. Je dis, quand on laisse passer 10 ans sans lancer l'examen, je me place aux places d'un correcteur. Supposons que j'ai une copie devant moi, qu'un candidat a peut-être 10. Il lui faut 12 pour être admissible, ou bien il faut 10 et lui il a 9. Il y a une question morale qui s'interroge dans mon cerveau. Le gars, si le candidat a passé 10 ans, est-ce que tu vas lui faire attendre encore pour 10 ans à cause de 2 notes, 2 points? Tu vas lui faire attendre encore 10 ans à cause d'1,5 point? Naturellement, avant d'être correcteur, on est des parents, on a des candidats, on a des enfants et tout ça. Mais si c'était le cas où on lançait l'examen chaque année, avec un conscient clair, je pouvais bien dire, donc, tu as 11, il te faut 12. Donc, tu n'as pas bien préparé, allez attendre l'année prochaine. Et c'est tout à fait normal. But when you think that for 10 years this candidate has waited, if he fails, he may wait again for 10 years. Morally, there is some burden that hangs on your head.
Alors, lorsque vous avez fini.
But Barrister, why should it be a concern if at all of them succeeded? Why should it be a problem? It's an examination. To the best of my knowledge, it's not a competitive entrance examination. It means that it is not meant to cause the candidates to fail, but to see their level and then be able to bring them into where they are supposed to be for their training to become lawyers, and not for them to fail.
Je suis parfaitement d'accord, Babila, avec cette option, ce principe, parce que j'adhère. Et c'est exactement la position du Conseil de l'ordre que je dirige. Parce que le problème du barreau n'a jamais été le problème de nombre. Pour nous, c'est plutôt une affaire de formation. Si on décide que, bon, au lieu de 2145, on a décidé que, bon, on déclare peut-être 100 admissibles. Et à la fin, peut-être, on prend 50. Si on ne forme même pas des 50 là, ils seront toujours des médiocres. Mais si on décide que bon, si le 500, 5000 passe et on investit pour les bien former, on n'aura rien à craindre. So the issue of the Cameroon bar has never been the issue of numbers. Numbers to me has nothing. It is a profession where, and again in Cameroon, it is so virgin. So when people say that there are so many lawyers, I wonder. I wonder. Because the Cameroon bar has 3,800. If you were to round it up to say 4,000, we're about 30 million Cameroonians. If you divide 30 million by 4,000, you see that one lawyer has about 1,000 clients. Is that the case? But you see the problem, the veritable problem is that first, the absence of a law school makes it that our lawyers, they are not even trained. What we actually do is apprenticeship. What we actually do is not training, it is more of apprenticeship. Because you get into a chamber.
It's like someone learning to do some mechanical works in a garage.
Exactly. That's why I qualify apprenticeship. So because of the absence of a law school which would have been training systematically, we have candidates because the law says, nemo quod non dat habet. You can't give what you don't have. So if you go to a chambers where the principal is only criminal law, you come out of there saying that you are an expert in criminal law, even if you didn't even know the criminal law. So it is our cry that the sooner we have a law school, the better. The second thing I want to say, Jonathan, is that the government has its own responsibility. They keep crying that so many lawyers because the concentration of lawyers are in Yaoundé and in Douala. But when you tell the government, in this age and time, who is that lawyer who will go and establish in some village area where you don't have internet, where you don't have TV communication, where the newspapers that you read are those from the neighboring country? So let the government be able to develop the places so that lawyers, of course, we are not just anybody. We are lawyers, for crying out loud. It is a profession that is worth gold the world over.
Alors, revenons un tout petit peu donc à la question de la publication des résultats.
Yes.
De façon concrète, comment ça se passe? Parce que on voudrait bien comprendre, lorsque le jury a dressé le procès verbal, je suppose il est adressé au ministre de la Justice, garde des Sceaux.
Yes.
Est-ce qu'il est possible que le ministre modifie le procès verbal ou du moins la liste des admissibles dressés par les membres du jury?
It's not possible.
Donc, des questions juste pour le ministre d'apposer sa signature.
Because the point is, and that's what many people say, because everybody sits in his own corner and says the minister changed the names or they added the names. It is not possible. The report, the procès verbal that is addressed to the minister, just like you saw with the last results, the results that we sent to the minister, the 7 members of the jury signed on all the pages. On all the pages. What the minister does is that the minister takes the procès verbal, the report, he does a communique publishing the results. The minister does not sign the results. The minister publishes the results which we, the jury, present to him, at least for this first part.
So you're going to tell us...
And that is what you have seen, that all the results that were published, the minister's signature is not seen anywhere. It is the signatures of the 7 members of the jury.
Right. So you're going to tell us what happened. What happened that there was the name of a lawyer who is already on the bar roll, on the list of successful candidates. What happened that somebody who is said not to have written the examination succeeded? You tell us about that. But before we get to that, I want to have your thoughts on the fact that not up to half of those who wrote passed. Not up to 50% of the more than 5,000 candidates who sat for the examination succeeded. What is your reading of that in terms of the quality of the result that you got from these examinations?
I will want to say, Mr. BABILA, that perhaps it would have been worse if the Bar Council did not invest as it did to organize regional training, preparatory classes, and the national preparatory class. You see, when you wait for 10 years, you don't launch the exams. Every year, when students come out of the university, you have the cream You have very intelligent students who want to be lawyers by passion. They cannot wait for 10 years. They will not wait. If they don't have the money to go to foreign bars to be called there and come back, they either write the police concours, they write the magistracy, they go to EMIR, they go to other places. And a greater majority of the people, they either get into small businesses, as was the case. And when you now launch the exams, a greater number of them are job seekers. A greater number of the people are job seekers. I can assure you that more than 1/3 of the candidates who wrote the exams only went to lawyers to obtain sponsorship letters, but they were not in chambers. And what the jury and the Bar Council insisted on was that the exams, the questions should be as practical as possible, so that it is more advantageous to the people who have been waiting in chambers for all this while, who have been going to court. Not people who have been doing business and doing other things, who now just want to come and write and see if they can pass. So a lot of people who wrote were not even prepared or were not preparing.
Tell us a little more about the percentage of those who scored 10, 12, 15, and so on.
If I knew you were going to ask that, I should have looked for those percentages. I would have told.
Dans tous les cas, vous n'êtes pas très satisfait par le niveau des candidats.
I would not say, je ne peux pas vous dire que je ne suis pas très... Il y a certains qui m'ont vraiment impressionné.
Mais est-ce que vous avez le sentiment que le stage, ou je ne sais pas comment vous avez appelé ça, cette opération de remise à niveau que vous avez organisée à la veille de l'examen, est-ce que vous avez vraiment le sentiment, et pour lequel, bien évidemment, des candidats ont payé, je crois, 20 000. Vous avez le sentiment que cela a amélioré, que ça a eu un impact sur la qualité des résultats? Est-ce que vous pouvez apprécier, je veux dire, est-ce qu'il y a des éléments palpables qui peuvent vous amener à confirmer cela? C'est difficile.
Non, tout ce que je peux vous dire que c'est palpable, c'est des témoignages des candidats.
D'accord.
Oui.
Alors, mais sur la question que Jonathan posait tout à l'heure, concernant la publication des résultats, vous savez, cela fait le tour des réseaux sociaux, cette sortie de certains candidats qui contestent les résultats et qui d'ailleurs demandent l'annulation de ces résultats qui ont été publiés le 28 mai dernier. Et parmi les récriminations qui ont été évoquées, ils estiment qu'il y a eu une sorte de tripatouillage des listes des candidats. Ils parlent de corruption à grande échelle et ils prennent quelques cas. Ils prennent par exemple le cas du candidat Kossi-Pondi Etienne, admissible, mais qui, selon les enquêtes qu'ils ont menées, est déjà inscrit au grand tableau et a prêté serment depuis le 9 novembre 1999. Alors comment est-ce que cela peut se comprendre qu'un avocat, déjà inscrit au grand tableau, qui a donc prêté serment, puisse se retrouver admissible après les épreuves écrites à l'examen, entrer en stage d'avocat?
Bon, ça veut dire simplement primo, ça veut dire qu'il n'était pas candidat. Secondo, il n'a pas composé.
Et comment son nom se retrouve là?
Duval, quand vous avez affaire avec 5300 candidats, on est tous humains. There are some of those errors that can happen. Il y a des erreurs qui peuvent se glisser. Le cas de Pondi que vous disiez là, c'est dommage que des détracteurs qui parlent de ça décident de cacher la vérité. Ils ne vous disent pas que Pondi, Kossi-Pondi, c'est le père. Kossi-Pondi Etienne, c'est le père. Kossi-Pondi Solange, c'est la fille. Donc, quand on déposait des dossiers, il y a une colonne pour des parrains, so the sponsor. There is a column for the candidate. So at the moment when they were depositing the documents, the people at the desk receiving the documents, instead of putting the name of the candidate where it is supposed to be fitted, the candidate who is Kossi-Pondi Solange, they instead put the name of Kossi-Pondi Etienne, who is the father and who is the principal, qui est le père et le parrain de Solange.
Et qui est avocat?
Etienne est avocat, le parrain. Donc au lieu de...
Et il est le père, le parrain de Kossi-Pondi Solange.
Donc on a juste mélangé le nom. So they misplaced the names. So when the list came out, Solange, Kossi-Pondi Solange wrote to the minister and copied us. The minister issued an arrêté modifying it. I think it's arrêté number 109, modifying arrêté number 105. That instead of Kosi Pondi Etienne, you should read Kosi Pondi Solange.
Ça, c'est avant l'examen.
That is before the exams. But I'm sure the secretariat did not put that one in place, which is what we ought to have been informed.
And the error continued to the publication of the
Now,
results.
the error continued now to the publication. And when we now summon the secretariat, it's like, we are sorry about it, but the jury was supposed to meet. So we now got the letter of the minister. We asked for the headers that were coded. We asked for the headers to be sure that it was actually Kosi Pondi Solange who wrote. The headers were brought to us for the two subjects. We now issued a resolution. We issued two resolutions. The first one, taking note of the ministerial arrêté modifying that name. We took a second one, enjoining the secretariat to modify that name on the list, which is what was supposed to have been done, but the secretariat did not bring it to our attention. Because the secretariat, once it is done like that, they don't have the mandate to modify. It is only the minister who can change, and for it to be effected, the jury has to act.
Qui assume donc cette erreur?
I will want to say the secretariat, because the establishment of the list is done by the secretariat.
Oui, mais le secrétariat vous dit qu'il n'a pas le pouvoir de faire une modification.
No, the issue was not even at the level of the modification. It is at the level of receiving the documents. It is at that point that the error was committed. That instead of putting Solange, who is the candidate, they went and put Barrister Pondi Etienne, who is the father and the principal. But what is interesting or intriguing is the fact that the detractors, when they say it, they don't do a full disclosure of the facts, because those are all human errors that can happen.
Now, there was another case.
Two of you, BABILA and Duval, you are all workers with Équinoxe. It can happen that if I want to address a correspondent to you, if I've addressed two correspondences, at the moment of putting them in an envelope, I can take the one for BABILA and put in the envelope of Duval. It will not necessarily mean that it was
Monsieur le Bâtonnier, est-ce que
corruption.
vous n'avez pas le sentiment que, avec tous les efforts que vous avez essayé de faire dans l'organisation de cet examen pour que cela se déroule sans anicroche, toutes les précautions que vous avez prises, par exemple sur la multiplication des épreuves pour éviter des fuites, par exemple sur... Est-ce que vous n'avez pas le sentiment d'être un tout petit peu déçu lorsque on a une situation comme celle-là et avec tout ce que cela engendre comme réaction ou commentaire sur les réseaux sociaux?
No, I don't get influenced by the social media on issues like that. I think, Duval, you yourself, you should congratulate the Bar Council for organizing it. If after receiving 5,300 files, the only error that the Secretariat did was that in the place of the candidate, they mistakenly put the name of the father. If that is all that they did for 5,300 candidates.
It's synonymous to what happens in some other institutions where names of dead people appear on the list of successful candidates.
No, BABILA, that's not synonymous. I don't agree with that.
Oui, mais il y a au moins ce qu'il y a des candidats absents qui sont retrouvés admissibles.
Yes.
Ça également a été évoqué dans ce concours, dans cet examen d'entrée en stage au barreau du Cameroun.
Oui, ça me fait rire, ça me fait vraiment rigoler.
Candidat absent
What
et
happened?
admissible.
Somebody who didn't write,
no.
or who
Ça
said,
ressemble aux
who
affaires
said
de
not to
l'ENAM,
have written.
comme l'indique
Le candidat
Jonathan.
soi-disant.
Who said not to have written.
Yes, le candidat soi-disant absent. Donc, je vais vous expliquer exactement ce qui s'est passé. À la veille de l'examen, le secrétariat descend sur les sites pour numéroter des bancs. À ce moment-là, il utilise simplement la liste publiée par le ministre. Il met des numéros sur chaque banc. À ce niveau, on ne sait pas qui va s'asseoir où. Je vous ai parlé de candidats avec des conditions vraiment préoccupantes, des malvoyants. Le candidat 1185, c'était le nom, c'est qui? Je m'excuse, je vous donne le nom parce que j'ai ici. Le candidat 1185, c'est Ndomo Kitio Sonia. Candidat 1186, Ndomo, Tabonsa, Nidel. Ça, c'est les deux candidats sur le même banc. L'autre à gauche, l'autre à droite. Il s'est présenté que le matin de l'examen, Ndomo, Tabonsa, c'est le malvoyant. Qu'on avait prévu une salle à part pour eux. On l'amène dans cette salle. L'autre Ndomo qui est là, pendant tout cet examen, elle constate qu'il y a le candidat 1186 qui n'est pas là. Elle ne sait pas qui c'est. Quand les résultats sortent, donc, elle est sûre. Et le candidat, soi-disant absent, parce qu'elle n'a pas vu le candidat, elle ne sait pas que ce candidat, c'est le candidat malvoyant.
Qui a été délocalisé.
Oui, qui a été délocalisé, qui a composé dans une salle spéciale. Elle saute. Il y a un candidat qui n'a pas composé, mais qui a été déclaré admissible. That is what happened. I think it's good. Let me actually explain this part too in English, because I've had a lot of people indicting me or indicting the exams because of this. This issue of a candidate who did not write but was successful. This is what happened. There is a candidate number 1158, Ndogmo Kitio. There is another candidate 1186, Ndogmo Tabonsa. The two were on the same desk. The two numbers on the same desk. It so happened that candidate number 1186 is a visually impaired, for whom a special hall had been prepared. These are all facts that you can verify. These are all facts that you as journalists you can verify. They had prepared a hall for these candidates. So when they came now and discovered that this is the candidate for whom that special hall was prepared, we took the candidate from there, kept her in that hall. And that is where she wrote. Because of that, Ndongmo Kitio, who is number 1185, throughout the exams that she's writing, she knows that candidate number 1186, who is Ndongmo Tabonsa, has not come. He doesn't know who the candidate is. He doesn't know the nature of the particularities of the candidate. So when the exams, the results are published, candidate number 1185 does not make it, fails. Candidate number 1186 passes. So candidate number 1185 is like, how can 1186 be declared successful, whereas I knew that that candidate did not come? This candidate was the visually impaired candidate.
Who wrote in the other?
Who wrote in a special hall prepared for that purpose. That is all what happened. And it's been on social media, oh, there's a candidate. And of course, when detractors have the slightest information which they think that is good for them, they magnify it.
Alors, je vous propose de marquer une pause dans cette émission de la Vérité en face sur Équinoxe Télévision. Nous recevons ce soir le bâtonnier en exercice Éric Mba. Avec lui, nous faisons le point sur le déroulement de l'examen d'entrée en stage d'avocats qui vient de s'achever au Cameroun, avec bien évidemment tout ce qu'il y a eu comme mouvement ou réclamation autour de l'organisation de cet examen. Il apporte un éclairage pour permettre de comprendre exactement ce qui s'est passé et bien évidemment apporter également des clarifications sur un certain nombre de questions polémiques en rapport avec l'organisation de cet examen. Nous marquons une pause de quelques secondes et puis nous revenons dans la deuxième partie de cette émission de la Vérité en face sur Équinoxe Télévision. Retour sur le plateau d'Équinoxe Télévision dans cette émission de la Vérité en face où nous recevons le bâtonnier Éric Mba. C'est le président de l'ordre des avocats du Cameroun et avec lui donc nous revenons sur l'organisation de l'examen d'aptitude au stage d'avocat qui vient de s'achever à Yaoundé avec bien évidemment tout ce qui est comme polémique autour des candidats déclarés, admis et qui n'ont pas composé, ou etc., etc. En tout cas, il apporte des clarifications sur la question. Mais M. Bâtonnier, on a entendu un certain nombre d'avocats qui d'ailleurs ont saisi le tribunal administratif et même le ministre de la Justice par des plaintes, indiquer que l'article 7 du décret numéro 91/305 du 4 juillet 1991 portant organisation de l'examen d'aptitude au stage d'avocat n'a pas été respecté. Ils évoquent entre autres la question de la moyenne requise pour passer cet examen-là, ou encore la question de la publication, la qualité, la façon de publier les résultats des examens. Est-ce que cette loi précise que les résultats soient publiés, ou du moins est-ce que les admis soient classés par ordre de mérite?
I know of no provision like that. I know of no provision like that. And these exams, of course, your archives too are there. They will bear us witness. These exams has always been published in that alphabetical order. Perhaps just for the fact that it's easy viewing or whatever, but the law doesn't prescribe that it should be in order of.
Mais est-ce qu'on ne pourrait pas, peut-être, si c'est la loi ou si la loi ne le dit pas, si invite juridique là-dessus, peut-être penser justement pour la crédibilité de l'examen et peut-être pour une plus grande transparence, publier les résultats par ordre de mérite, peut-être avec les moyens même des candidats. Est-ce que cela est envisageable?
I think it is possible that it can be published in order of merit. But to say that on publié avec des notes, we cannot publish with the scores. Because when you publish the results with the scores, it influences the jury during the orals. Because the final results is a combination of the marks at the written and the orals. Okay. So for example, if I know that Mr. Babila is a candidate, he wrote and say he had, say 10, and he needs 15 at the orals in order to succeed at the end. Once he appears before me, my mind is guided towards giving him that mark.
Mais est-ce qu'on pourrait le faire donc pour les examens, pour les résultats définitifs?
I will not say yes. I will not dabble into a domain which is not mine. I think for the credibility of it, I think it doesn't have any prejudice. But that is the preserve of the authority that publishes the exams.
Would you advise that it should be done so?
I will recommend. I will recommend.
Alors,
except there is some particular mischief or there's some particular reason which I don't know, which I may be told. But I want to equally come back to you, Mr. Duval. There is, when you talk about this issue of the requête, on a saisi the tribunal administratif, on a fait des recours gracieux et tout ça, ça me fait vraiment rire. Because I have seen a lot of things within these exams. Pourquoi j'ai dit ça me fait rire? Il y a aussi des gens qui viennent, quand ils viennent vous voir, oh, monsieur le bâtonnier, bon, il y a mon enfant qui a composé, il y a mon neveu, il y a ceci, est-ce que tu peux faire quelque chose? Mais quand tu leur dis non, il n'y a rien, on ne peut rien faire. Parce que imaginez-vous combien de gens je connais, c'est des milliers. Si je commence à identifier ce que je connais, ça va quand même, la raison d'être l'examen sera donc quoi? Mais quand finalement son candidat échoue, il vient vous dire, oh non, monsieur le bâtonnier, j'ai entendu ceci, cela, et j'ai demandé à mon candidat de saisir le tribunal administratif. Si tu savais que ton candidat l'ait reçu, pourquoi tu venais même pour demander si on pouvait faire quelque chose? Il y a des cas comme ça.
Oui, talking about that, that case of influence peddling, there are other people saying that there were lists that came from some government authorities, some highly seated people within the circles of power trying to push through one or two persons. What do you have to say about that?
I will say yes. I will say yes. That there are people who would have tried to push through people, either through me, either through the secretariat, through the jury, and all of that. Those things happen. And that's why before we start any session, if it is the marking, we call all the markers together, we talk to them. When it comes to the orals, like was the case, we call the jury members, we spoke to them. When they left, we stayed back with the presidents of each jury and we talked. And Mr. Babila, that is one of the reasons why the list of the members of the jury was never published till we went through with the orals. We never published. And when to mitigate this, what I did was that we did not publish the list of the candidates who and the corresponding jury before which they will pass. So what we did every day was that we get to the ENAM in the morning. The list, we have 7, because there are 7 juries. We had calculated to take the number of days that we have taken. We said we're going to take 350 candidates a day. So each jury takes 50 a day. So we already have pre-prepared lists by the Secretariat. 50 lists, 50 names per list. So we had 7 lists. We get there in the morning, we do a ballot.
Et là, vous parlez de la deuxième partie, les épreuves orales.
Yes, we do the ballot. So that candidates don't know in advance the jury before which they will pass. Because if it's me, of course, if I know that I'm passing before Duval, I'll try to know whoever knows Duval to tell him, okay, no, there is this person. That is human nature. So long, and we are in a country where there are no laws that sanction those bad behaviors and all of that. So we can only try within our own means to see how we could mitigate. To say that there were people who did all of that, yes. But to say that there were some official lists, like they say the minister's list and all of that, those who know me know my reaction to those things.
To what extent did you go to ensure that such things do not happen? Because even when the candidate comes and it's in front of the jury, something can still happen there. If I come and then Barrister Eric knows me, he sees that I'm the one, he can still do something there for me to go through, even though I may not merit it.
Babila, it's not by Eric saying it. It is said, and we know, corruption is the first form of bribery. Acquaintance is the first form of bribery. The moment I know Duval, when he appears before me, there are some reflexes. And that is why when we are selecting the members of the jury, we do as much as we can. It is not the bar that selects the members of the jury. The bar proposes for each jury 2 lawyers. So it is incumbent on me, the Bâtonnier, to know the lawyers of integrity that I will propose for the jury. It is the rector of the university. The minister writes to the rector. It is the rector, knowing the sensitivity of what the lecturer is going to do. He knows the caliber of university lecturer he is proposing. It is the president of the Supreme Court or the president of the Court of Appeal, whatever the case may be, who proposes the magistrate. So if it were the bar proposing the magistrate, I may be tempted to propose somebody I don't really know his integrity. But we leave it to the head of those institutions to propose.
Alors, Monsieur Bâtonnier,
that's the maximum we try to do.
Dites-nous la vérité en face. Vous êtes donc imperméable aux hautes instructions en ce qui concerne des candidats qui pourraient bénéficier de certains avantages de haute personnalité pour être admis au barreau du Cameroun.
Duval, if you know me, if you know where I'm coming from, you will know my position in some of those things. I come from a background that makes me, I am allergic to any form of injustice, particularly the one that would deprive the underprivileged. Because I tell anybody who came to me because of his position to think that I should assist, I tell them that that is just the message I don't want to hear. Because if it were a matter of being the son of X, or being the relation of Y, or being using money, I can tell you, Duval, I would never have been a lawyer.
Même si ces propositions étaient formulées par le ministre de la Justice, garde des Sceaux, avec qui, justement, on dit que vous avez de très bonnes relations.
Yes, I have a collaborative relationship with the minister, but it is official. And anybody who knows me knows that I say it the way it is. I have never minced words to tell the minister to his face the things that I feel are not correct.
Parce que sur cette question, justement, pour ouvrir une parenthèse, beaucoup estiment que du fait de cette complicité entre griffes avec le ministre de la Justice, vous êtes un tout petit peu réticent, un tout petit peu laxiste lorsqu'il s'agit par exemple de défendre les droits des avocats?
Duval, one thing I want to say is that the minister is not my friend. Le ministre n'est pas mon ami. Le ministre n'est qu'un ministre. C'est lui le tutelle et je suis le bâtonnier. And it may surprise you, Duval, I don't have the minister's number. I don't. I have never had his number. The minister doesn't know where I live in Yaoundé. I don't know where he lives. When I want to see the minister, I call his secretariat. They inform him that I intend to see him at this hour, and he tells me if I should come or not. The secretariat informs me. The same way, if he wants to tell me, his communication service calls me. Our relationship is purely professional. It's purely professional. And I don't dabble into those. And I think the minister knows where I belong. The minister knows where I belong. I am allergic to helping the downtrodden. I'm allergic to helping the weak. I'm allergic to helping those that have come from very poor backgrounds. I am allergic. Yes, I am prone to doing that. I'm prone. So if I am in a jury, a candidate who comes before me and says, okay, no, I studied in Paris, or I did this, or I am this, and you want to throw it up because you are from a well-to-do family and all of that, I don't feel moved. I don't feel moved. The rest to that transcend. But a candidate who comes to me, rather, or appears before me, who is an orphan like I have been for more than 45 years, who is like this, who has struggled all his life or her life to climb the academic ladder, I feel a relationship, and I feel more prone. We are all human.
Barrister, let me put this straight. If the Minister of Justice were to tell Barrister Mba Eric Mba, President of the Cameroon Bar Association, Mr. President, I want you to make candidate A to succeed. Let me go beyond the Ministry of Justice or the Minister of Justice, maybe to the Presidency of the Republic. If a message like that were to come to you, I want you to make this candidate to succeed, what will be your response?
I think, that's my thought. I think they will not even do it because they know what I will do with that message. I think they will not do it because they know what I will do with that message.
What will be your response?
My response is categoric. My response is categoric. Babila, I'm telling you that I have come from a background where when any of those things happens, I see myself in that situation. We will only be depriving somebody, and I owe the duty to the bar. I've been elected by 3,800 lawyers to defend the bar. And one thing you must know, Babila, that is my philosophy. That is my philosophy. It is not because I am your friend that you think that you should push your child to become a lawyer. By pushing your child to become a lawyer, where the child will find it difficult, you may just be depriving that child of being a very wonderful accountant. So by refusing to the minister or whosoever, I am actually doing them a favor. I am telling them that this child does not belong here. This child has another area where this child will excel in. Because all of us are God's creation, and we are created with all kinds of talents. When we babble all of these things, it's just because we have not been properly orientated and we don't know where our proper talents are.
Recently, you said that responding to questions about this issue of fraud, these allegations of fraud in the bar entrance examination, you said that fraud is common in examinations in Cameroon. And the question that immediately pops out of that is Cameroon a country of fraud?
I will not really say Cameroon is a country of fraud, but I will want to borrow from the opening statement of my brother and friend Duval here. In his opening statement, he said we are already used to corruption with entrance exams in our country and all of that. And Babila, why are you trying to behave as if you just landed at the airport a few minutes ago? You know the Cameroonian, we know it. And if we don't say it the way it is, if we don't call it by their name, we will not change. We are corrupt.
Je voudrais qu'on revienne un tout petit peu, peut-être pour sortir de cette question à rapport avec les examens. Monsieur Bâtonnier, dites-nous, si vous pouvez le faire, bien sûr, puisque ce sont des questions qui touchent à des sujets sensibles, des questions d'argent. Alors, combien le barreau a-t-il récolté en termes d'argent pour, dans le cas des inscriptions à ces examens-là? Beaucoup d'argent, certainement.
Pas assez, hein, pas assez. Quand tu parles de beaucoup d'argent pour quelqu'un comme moi qui n'a pas une bonne relation avec l'argent, tu peux dire 20 millions, je peux dire que c'est beaucoup d'argent, mais peut-être avec quelqu'un comme BABILA, peut-être il y a un compte bancaire gonflé, il peut te dire que 100 millions, c'est rien. En bref, pour shooter, chaque candidat a payé 30 000. C'est ça qu'on a utilisé pour financer l'examen et tout ça.
Alors, je vais vous aider en faisant les calculs. 5 321 candidats fois 30 000, ça fait 154 350 000 francs CFA.
Yes. And I will tell you how this money is spent. The exams is financed by this money. The 10,000 that was paid by the candidates is grossly insufficient.
Quelle était la contribution du ministère de la Justice ou de l'État du Cameroun?
Actually, the contribution of the Ministry of Justice and the Cameroonian state is the fact that they launched the exams. That's their contribution.
Tout simplement.
Yes, and that the secretariat is headed by the director of...
Mais si l'État ne met pas de l'argent et que c'est le barreau qui finance entièrement l'organisation des examens, pourquoi est-ce qu'il faut attendre 10 ans pour organiser les concours?
Yes, that is what and that is why I think we are almost at the point where with the Chancellery, we are talking on terms of the fact that the exam should be launched every year. Because my concern as the bar president is not even the financial. My concern is the fact that quand on laisse passer des années comme ça, c'est comme ça que le barreau perd des talents. Le barreau perd des crèmes des étudiants qui sortent de l'université, qui veulent être des avocats par passion. That is our interest. And now to talk about the finances, you know, it is the ministry. The bar, in most countries, people look at the bar as some form of opposition party. They fear the bar. But I'm glad we are gradually understanding that we can collaborate. Yes. The bar is the thermometer by which we measure the temperature of justice in any country. Whether they take it or leave it, we are indispensable in the development of every country.
You were about telling us how the money that is raised for the organization.
I knew you come to it.
Is organized, is used.
Yes. What happens is the decree prescribing the financial aspect of the law. It tells you for an invigilator. An invigilator, you're supposed to give him, I think it's 8,000 a day. So when you bring somebody from Douala to come and invigilate, because obviously you equally not get all the invigilators from Yaoundé. The candidates in an exam, psychologically, when he sees somebody as an invigilator who he knows, he feels protected too. We cannot take all the invigilators only from Yaoundé. So when you take an invigilator from the southwest to come and invigilate in Yaoundé, you pay him 8,000 a day. That is not even enough for his transport. For the markers and the jury, that law says you pay them 20,000 a day. You imagine a senior lecturer from Boya, from Douala, a senior magistrate, you pay him 20,000 a day. That is not even enough to pay an auberge. With the rising prices in fuel. So why we give this money for that official, the bar usually backs up. Because there was a time that the magistrates and the university lecturers, they refused that they were not coming to mark because what was given to them was actually like an insult. We agree that it is some civic responsibility, some civic duty that are doing, but at least something reasonable.
Mais au finish, quand même, on ne peut pas ne pas dire que cet examen a permis au barreau quand même d'engranger un peu d'argent. On se souvient que lors des inscriptions, il y avait une clause ou une condition qui insistait que tous les candidats, n'est-ce pas, puissent obtenir des lettres de parrainage. Et il me semble, je peux me tromper, je parle sous votre contrôle, cette lettre de parrainage, par exemple, devait être délivrée par des avocats, c'est-à-dire leurs parrains, Et l'une des conditions, effectivement, c'était que être à jour de leur cotisation. Cela a quand même permis de renflouer un tout petit peu les caisses du barreau. 5000 candidats avec leurs parrains, etc. Ça peut quand même faire...
Parmi les 5000, il y avait certains qui étaient à jour de leur cotisation. On accepte qu'il y a certains qui ont payé parce qu'ils devaient parrainer. C'est tout à fait normal.
C'est quand même une manne importante pour le barreau en ces temps difficiles.
Je ne peux pas vous dire, parce qu'un barreau comme la nôtre, si même, quand tu parles de 200 millions pour un barreau comme la nôtre, c'est quoi? Face à nos projets.